Quin settles into her chair, exhausted, and she phones up her mother, her biological mother, on a vid call. The call rings several times, too many times for Quin's comfort, before the call is finally answered, and Quin is greeted to the image of an utterly gorgeous woman who looks to be in her mid to late 20s, but is actually in her late 30s or early 40s. She's 5'11", and she has dyed platinum blonde hair, sharp blue eyes, and she is drop-dead gorgeous. She is a former supermodel after all, and as such she is immaculate. Quin smiles a strained smile at her biological mother, Irina Lebedev-Riesling, who smiles brightly in return and speaks first. "Quin, darling, what a surprise. Does this call mean you're done, then? Have you gotten it all out of your system, my dear? Whatever has gotten into you? Have you finished discovering whatever it is you need to discover with those boorish mercenaries?" Quin sucks in a breath and fights back a scowl, and she says, "No, Mother, not yet. I have not quite finished discovering what I need to discover, and it's not completely out of my system. However, apparently something has gotten into your system." Irina does scowl. "Oh, and what do you think has gotten into my system?" Quin leans forward slightly. "Well, Mother, it appears that you are running for an elected seat on the Boundless Council. Mother, you haven't had anything to do with Boundless in a decade. You're not even a member of Boundless." Irina cuts her off. "Whatever do you mean by not a member of Boundless, darling? I have been a Boundless citizen my whole life, as has your father, so I am doubly so a Boundless citizen through marriage, and I have every right to run for elected position, especially so since the current Athena representative is a do-nothing coward, and I have a grand mission for what is best for Overture, my child, that I shall be pursuing for the good of Overture." Quin's lips tighten, and she glances to the side to hide the expression she was unable to suppress upon hearing Irina's wording, as Quin is intimately familiar with what Irina's idea of what's best for something looks like. Quin shudders involuntarily as she briefly flashes back to all the pressure Irina has put on her throughout her life to be absolutely perfect in every way, to get perfect grades, to interact only with the right people, the right ways. Quin's stomach churns as she reflects back on the hours she spent scrolling through the hundreds of hand-picked perfect suitors her mother had chosen for her and the miserable dates she had gone on with them. How oppressive and stifling it had felt to only be allowed to associate with people who met her parents' expectations, and how she too was expected to meet her parents' expectations, to do everything right. And every time Quin got anything less than 100% on anything, or did anything less than perfectly, Irina would descend upon her and drill her and scold her about how poorly this reflected on her and their family. How every time Quin made a decision Irina didn't agree with, when Quin had the luxury of making decisions, when Irina didn't just make the decision for her and coerce her into going along with it, Irina would lecture her on how embarrassing and shameful she was being and how disappointed she was in her. And couldn't Quin see that Irina was doing all this for her own good? And it was only now, in this moment, Quin realizes the her that Irina was referring to when she declared to Quin she was doing what was best for her was herself, not Quin. And that the good Irina is acting in the best interests of weren't Overture's, but hers as well. Quin steadies herself, looks back at Irina, and she says, "I hope you do not succeed," and she ends the call.